1947, deep in the forests of Kamchatka and the far-off reaches of the Soviet Union, Roberta Wells and a highly specialized group of infantry and mechanized forces have infiltrated deep behind enemy lines and look to secure a mysterious plane crash. But the Soviet forces have caught wind of this mysterious object and want it for themselves. Will Roberta Wells and her crew be able to fight back the Soviet forces? Find out today in this week's battle report of Konflikt 47.
Hey, how's it going? Mike from Mike Rolls Dice. Welcome back for another battle report of Konflikt 47. First off, I want to give a quick shout out to all of our YouTube members here and everyone that's been watching the channel. Support means a lot, and I couldn't do it without you folks. If you're new here to the channel, be certain to subscribe as we have a new Konflikt 47 battle report coming out every week, as well as other games. With that out of the way, let's get into the army list, starting off with my US forces. So we have 1,500 points of US forces here, and starting off we have the 1st Assault Platoon. And in charge of this assault platoon is a Firefly platoon commander. I paid for an extra point of luck, he gets free guts, and he has an ATRD. Next up we have Roberta Wells, and she has the ability to change an active rift dice on an enemy within 12 inches. She's a hero model. Next up we have a Firefly Airborne squad. This is a 6-man squad, all with the Thompson submachine guns. And then we have a 3-man unit of Paragons. They're equipped with 1 heavy Tesla rifle and are all equipped with close combat weapons. Next up we have Assault Platoon number 2, and in charge of this assault platoon is a platoon commander with 1 point of guts paid for and a free point of guts. And he'll be in charge of 2 Paragon squads. Both Paragon squads are equipped with a heavy Tesla rifle and close combat weapons. And as all Paragons, they have the ability to generate a point of guts every turn with their rift die. So next up we have a Walker platoon, and in charge of the Walker platoon we have the Linebacker Jump Assault Walker. This is equipped with a light Tesla cannon, 2 light autocannons, as well as a chin-mounted flamethrower.
Linebacker here. Ready for your order, Miss Wells.
Then we have the Grizzly Walker, which is equipped with a medium anti-tank gun and has 2 arms and 2 legs.
This is Grizzly Walker 69. Over and out.
And last but not least, we have 2 Jackal Jump Walkers. These have 1 medium machine gun on 1 arm and are both upgraded with a flamethrower on the other arm. And that rounds out my US list, coming in at 1,500 points. And now on to Rev Soviet forces. For Rev Soviet Army here, he has 1,500 points, and starting off we have an assault platoon, and the assault platoon is being led by a platoon commander. You can see her with the flag here. She has a point of guts, as well as an RPG. And next up we have a veteran Soviet infantry squad. These are actually the heroes of the motherland, and they're equipped with SMGs, and 1 guy's equipped with the rifle and RPG. Then we have the Daughters of the Motherland. These are all equipped with assault rifles, and then 2 Zukioi projectors. Then we have a unit of Moraz Ghoul, and these all have SMGs and RPGs. We have a 3-bear unit of Ursus infantry, which are damage value 7, have the Ursine Fury. Then we have a sniper team upgraded with the anti-tank rifle and an artillery air forward observer. Now for the armored platoon, we have a Mallet Walker with the command vehicle upgrade, and it's equipped with an anti-tank gun and twin HMGs. Then we have a ZIS-30, which is actually a bolt action unit, and this is an anti-tank destroyer. Next up we have a heavy weapons platoon with an inexperienced platoon commander who's going to be leading the platoon. He's got a point of guts. Then we have a couple more bolt action units. We have a Soviet anti-tank dog team, which can release mines underneath a tank. Hopefully the dogs run away safely. Then we have a Molotov launcher, which will be shooting Molotov cocktails across the board. And last but not least, we have 2 medium mortar teams, and one of the teams is equipped with a spotter. The air forward observer can be a spotter for the other mortars. And that's Rev Soviet forces, and now for an overlook of the battlefield. So today we find ourselves somewhere deep in the jungles, and this particular region of the world is very famous for having wartime planes and ships disappear, and mysterious objects appear seemingly out of nowhere. And there appears to be this very large cargo plane that seems to be potentially from a different time, maybe from the future, as it is much more advanced than any of the aircraft that any of the nations have at this particular moment. There also seems to be a weird glow emanating from inside the plane, so I think both of these forces are curious about trying to secure this. So today's objective is take and hold the center. This giant terrain piece in the center will be the central objective that both forces need to try and take and hold, as well as whoever can take out the most enemy units will be getting a point for each enemy unit. And it's pretty simple. The central objective will be ruins, and then we have forests or trees with dense terrain that we have across the board. Now for the infiltrators, we have the infiltrators on both sides. The Paragons have forward deployed near the center of the board, but the Moraz Ghoul got the first infiltration deployment and actually got onto the central objective, so the Paragons had to stay 12 inches away.
Alright, men, get ready. They'll be here any second.
We also have the spotters for the mortar teams and the anti-tank sniper team as well, on Rev side that has been infiltrated and forward deployed.
HQ, this is Vasily. I read. Get ready for fire order. The Americans are here.
Alright, with the infiltrators and all that out of the way, we can get started with the game with the start of turn 1. Alright, start of turn 1 here, and the Soviet forces are up first. And the Moraz Ghoul that are forward deployed are going to be advancing forward, climbing up the wing of the plane and jumping down, getting into point blank range with all the units, and firing at the Paragons with their SMGs.
My god, what the hell are those things?
Only managing to take out one of the Paragons within point blank range. So now the artillery observer on the Soviet side is calling in a artillery barrage and places the smoke marker down for where it's going to come in potentially next turn. And the Paragons in the center with a pin here that just lost the model are going to be advancing forward partially onto the terrain piece and firing at the Moraz Ghoul.
Why won't you die, damn it? Gun them down!
Generating a point of guts as well. And after shooting the SMGs and the assault profile on the heavy Tesla weapon, they managed to take out one of the Moraz Ghoul and add a pin. After generating a point of guts, they put their dice back in the bag. Now the Soviet sniper team with the anti-tank rifle is firing at the other Paragon squad, but unfortunately misses. After pulling their dice back out of the bag, the Paragons take a fire order and quickly shoot again at the Moraz Ghoul. Managing to take out a model or two and add in some more pins. So now the second Paragon squad behind them are advancing forward to reinforce their squad mates, firing their SMGs and Tesla assault profile. This time faring better and managing to take out an additional Moraz Ghoul. And as always, using their ability to generate a point of guts, put their dice back in the bag. So running onto the board here, we have the Daughters of the Motherland.
Come on, sisters. We must make the motherland proud.
On the opposite side of the plane. And the same squad of Paragons that put their dice back in the bag are getting a fire order and firing at the Moraz Ghoul. Having the ability to guaranteed generate a point of guts and go twice per turn makes Paragons a fantastic unit. and they managed to take out an additional Morale school. So the 3rd Paragon unit here, seeing the central objective being fairly in control by the other 2 Paragon squads, decides to run to the right of the plane. And after generating a point of guts, they're going to put their dice back in the bag to activate again later this turn. And the American platoon commander now moves onto the board, and the same Paragon squad that just ran after generating a point of guts on their previous activation pulls their dice out of the bag and continues running forward. So Grizzly Walker running onto the board now, and really what I should have done is put the Grizzly first and then the platoon commander, but Rev was nice enough to let me use my guts on my platoon commander, just saying that we did it that way, being that I could put the Grizzly's dice back in the bag. And Roberta Wells now running onto the board, finding her place in the center of her troops.
Remember, men, we have one job. Secure this plane.
And the Grizzly now pulling its dice and going on ambush for any potential Soviet units. And with that, a ZIS-30 anti-tank destroyer rolls onto the board. Being in line of sight of the medium anti-tank gun on the Grizzly Walker, I'm going to spring the ambush and switch it to a fire order.
Grizzly Walker here. Don't worry, Miss Wells. Your backup has arrived. Fire!
And being that the ZIS-30 is only damage value 8, I believe, it's easily taken out by the medium anti-tank gun with a high roll on the damage table. So now the Mallet Walker shambles onto the board here with an advance order and is going to be firing at the Grizzly Walker, as well as firing at the Paragon squad.
There's the American pig dogs. Get ready to fire.
Starting off with the twin forward HMGs. Managing to take out a Paragon, but unfortunately missing with its anti-tank round. So now 2 Soviet units are just running onto the board here. We have the Soviet infantry squad, the Heroes of the Motherland, and then we also have the Ursus infantry squad. And on the northern side of the board, reinforcing that flank, we have the other mortar squad and an experienced platoon commander, as well as the Molotov launcher, the anti-tank dog team, and the main platoon commander for the Soviets. And after the Soviet platoon commander using her dice to put the Soviet anti-tank dog team's dice back in the bag, they advance forward and release the hounds. What I like to think is the dogs run underneath the walker, drop the mines, and then run back and go get treats. Let's just say that's what happens. But unfortunately, I think they changed the anti-tank Soviet dog team because they used to be much better, Rev was saying. They might have changed the unit when the new bolt action army came out, so unfortunately it was ineffective and just led to a pin. Something to point out is the Paragons in the center got a surging die, so they're fearless now. With that, that is the end of turn 1. We still have a lot of units ready to jump on the board. We're moving on to the start of turn 2. So start of turn 2 here. Grizzly Walker is going to be activating here. I have an advanced side, but it's going to be firing after passing its order test and removing a pin, shooting its anti-tank gun at the Mallet Walker.
Steady now. Steady. Take cover. Firing at Mallet Walker.
Now hitting with a 6 and getting a 6 on the damage roll, but the full damage roll only getting a 3, which is on fire, and after passing the morale test, the Mallet Walker survives, just getting some pins. So now the Paragon squad here in the center are going to be activating, getting a fire order, and generating a point of guts, shooting their SMGs and heavy Tesla assault profile at the Morale School. And failing some cover saves, Rev losing a model or 2. Forgetting about the artillery observer's airstrike, we see the result and it actually doesn't go off, it ends up moving and moves right into the center of all the US troops. And after pulling their dice back out of the bag, the Paragon squad are now charging forward into the Morazgul now that they're weakened enough.
Get ready, men! Charge! Cut them to pieces!
Fighting at the same time here. And I lose one of the Paragons, but they manage to win the combat and take out the Morazgul, consolidating on the point. So now the Mallet launcher with line of sight is going to be firing at the two Paragons underneath the tail of the plane. Launching over a Molotov cocktail, it catches one of the Paragons on fire, but they quickly manage to put it out, just resulting in a pin. So now Roberta Wells is activating here. She's going to be getting a run order and just moving onto the terrain piece near the two Paragons in the center.
Hold your ground, men. We're almost there. Don't give them an inch.
And the American platoon commander is activating now. He's going to be running forward. And after moving forward, he's going to use his point of guts, his last remaining point of guts, to put the Grizzlies' dice back in the bag. The sniper team with the anti-tank rifle seeing Roberta Wells move into the terrain piece, take aim, and fire at her. Getting +1 to hit and +1 to wound and no cover save. Roberta Wells is hit, but luckily her luck prevents her from being taken out. After pulling its dice out of the bag, number 69, the Grizzly Walker here is going to be firing at the Mullet Walker. Hitting with a 6, but unfortunately the damage roll resulting in just a pin. So the anti-tank dog team now with their dogs back at them, and after being called good boys, the two soldiers take their rifles and fire at the platoon commander. And now the Soviet mortar squad is targeting the two Paragons in the center. Ranging them in with a miss, but next turn they'll be hitting on a 5. The lone Paragon underneath the tail of the plane here is activating, advancing forward. He's going to be shooting his assault profile on the Tesla rifle at the soldiers in the dog team. After taking out the two guys, the dogs run away and go back to the camp. The other mortar team is firing now on the Paragons in the center, both ranging in on 5s. And the two Paragons right next to the Soviet flare, indicating the incoming airstrike, decide to run forward here and get away from the potential explosion next turn.
Move it, damn it! They're zeroing in on us right now!
Now passing its order test, jumping in off the board directly behind the Soviet platoon commander and the Mullet Walker. The linebacker lands silently.
Looks like you boys need some help down here.
It's going to be activating its rift dice on its light Tesla cannon and firing at the Mullet Walker, as well as the Molotov launcher in front of it. Shooting its twin light autocannons. As well as its chin-mounted flamethrower. Unfortunately missing, but it doesn't run out of fuel. And after the stealthy jump, only resulting in pins in the units it was targeting. Soviet commander firing her RPG at the lone Paragon. Rev choosing to go down with some of his models here. And Rev using his dice to put the mortar squad back in the bag and fire again. And the Firefly squad now jumping in directly behind the Ursus infantry in point-blank range. They're going to be shooting with their Tesla Thompsons with the 2-shot +1 pen profile. They're needing 6s to wound here. Three successful damage rolls and 2 failed hard-to-kill rolls. They take out 2 of the Ursus and then use their Get Out of Hell ability to get 6 inches away after shooting. Continuing to jump on the board here from reserves, the Jackal Lightwalker jumps in right behind the mortar squad. And it's going to be firing its machine guns and flamethrowers at the mortars right in front of it.
Oh, you boys thought you could just hide back here, huh?
Unfortunately, I forgot that the machine guns on the arms are not halved, but I'll remember later on, don't worry. And with some successful flamethrower and MMG shots, managing to take out one of the mortar teams. The Lone Ursus Infantry turns around and charges the Firefly squad here. Before getting taken out, the Lone Ursus Infantry takes out half of the Firefly squad. So the veteran Soviets now turn around and take aim at the Firefly squad as well, firing with their SMGs and the one RPG. Managing to take out two of the Fireflies. And after using their point of guts, because they're the heroes of the motherland, they put their dice back in the bag. With an RPG shot, finish off the lone Firefly. Daughters of the Motherland choosing to go on ambush here for any potential jump troops. But the ATRD wielding Firefly platoon commander drops down right behind the Malt launcher and in point blank range yells,
"Clear the back blast!"
Easily takes out the Soviet Walker with the anti-tank launcher.
That's a lesson in democracy for you commie bastards. Drinks on me, boys.
So the last Jackal is jumping onto the board here right behind the Soviet sniper team. And again, forgetting that I get 6 shots with the MMG. And managing to do pretty well with the flamethrower, ignoring the cover saves, they take out the sniper team and gets a pin for firing his flamethrower. And with that, that is the end of turn 2. All of the American units have now jumped on the board. Moving on to the start of turn 3. Started turn 3, and the Soviet airstrike is being called in, and unfortunately goes in a random direction 10 inches away, missing most of the US targets, but it will be hitting the 2 Paragons in the center. And something I haven't mentioned, but harmonic resonance going off. It hasn't had much effect in the previous turns, but managing to get some pins on the same Paragon squad hit by the airstrike. Mortar team firing here, continuing to range in the center. Molotov launcher targeting the lone Paragon by the bushes here. And with a well-placed shot from the Molotov launcher, it easily takes out the Paragon, setting him ablaze. Daughters of the Motherland going on ambush for any US units moving nearby. And the Soviet artillery observer is advancing forward to potentially get near the objective later on. Now Jackal trying to take out the last of the mortar squad, but failing its order test due to the pins. And the Soviet platoon commander now is activating. She's just going to be running forward and getting closer to the central objective.
Hold your ground, men, for the Soviet Union.
So the Soviet veteran infantry squad, after taking out the Firefly team last turn, are now moving towards that central objective. And the inexperienced platoon commander on the Soviet side choosing to go down. Just US dice left in the bag now, so I'm going to be activating. After passing an order test with the linebacker here, I'm going to be advancing through the Molot launcher, forcing a morale check and getting some melee hits along the way. And then I'm going to be firing at the Daughters of the Motherland and the Soviet platoon commander right in front of it.
For Super FDR, take this, you commie scum! Ah!
Activating its Surging Rift Dice it rolled last turn to an active Rift Dice for its additional shots on its Tesla Arc. And after forcing a morale check and making melee attacks, manages to take out 2 of the troops on the Malt launcher. Firing the flamethrower at the platoon commander in front. Tesla cannons and auto cannons at the Daughters of the Motherland. And only managing some pins. So now the Firefly platoon commander is going to be activating, advancing forward, and attempting to finish off the lone remaining troop on the Molotov launcher. The Grizzly activating, choosing to advance, and is firing at point-blank range with its anti-tank gun at the platoon commander on the Soviet side. Easily taking her out. And now Roberta Wells is running forward. Roberta Wells being within 12 inches at the start of her turn here. She's going to be running forward, using her Rift Die to change one of the active Rift Dice on the Daughters of the Motherland to inactive. But unfortunately, sprinting the ambush from the Daughters of the Motherland. Before being taken out, though, she uses her last point of guts and puts the Grizzly Walker's dice back in the bag. She sacrifices herself to change their Rift Die and try and get some vital information before being taken out. And now the Grizzly Walker is activating and firing an HE template on its anti-tank gun at the Daughters of the Motherland.
This is for Miss Wells. Take this. Fire!
Taking 3 of the daughters out in revenge for Roberta Wells' death. So now the Paragon squad in the center are using the vines on the plane to climb up to the top here, using an advance order, generating a point of guts as well, and they're going to be firing at the Daughters of the Motherland.
Remember what Miss Wells said. Don't give him an inch.
But only managing some pins. And the Jackal in the bottom left now activating. It's going to be advancing forward and firing its MMGs at the veteran Soviet infantry squad. Finally remembering that I get 6 shots because it's arm mounted. And it manages to take out one of the veterans. And with that, that is the end of turn 3. Things are moving pretty quick here. U.S. forces are surging across the board. Moving on to the start of turn 4. Start of turn 4 here, and harmonic resonance having somewhat of an effect, adding some pins to both walkers, both of the medium walkers. Now, Daughters of the Motherland are up first, and they're going to be advancing forward, getting within point-blank range and a side profile shot with their Zukioi projectors to shoot at the Grizzly Walker. Pulling a dice out of the bag, but unfortunately not getting an active one. Rev failing to remember the classic rule. He didn't roll his order test before moving his minis, so he failed his order test. The Soviet infantry now are activating after passing their order test. They're going to advance onto the terrain piece. They're going to fire at the Paragons on top of the plane.
There they are, Vasily! Fire!
After firing with the troops in close combat with his RPG and not in close combat, leaving only one of the Paragons left. Mortar team activating. They're hitting on a 4 this time. They've been ranging in, and they successfully hit the Paragon in the center, but don't manage to take it out. And choosing to fire, staying put here, the Grizzly Walker now is going to fire at the Daughters of the Motherland, shooting its HE template in close blank range. And after passing its order test, it manages to take out 2 additional Daughters of the Motherland. Luckily they pass their morale test and don't flee off the board. The Jackal Walker is advancing forward, firing its MMGs and flamethrowers at the Soviet infantry on the central point. And managing to take out a few of the veteran infantry, leading to some additional pins. So the Jackal Walker in the back there attempting to finish off the mortars, but continuing to fail its order test every single turn from that one single flamethrower pin. And the Artillery Observer now is running forward, getting towards that central objective on the Soviet side. Now US linebacker is going to be activating here, passing its order test, advancing forward and attempting to finish off the remaining Daughters of the Motherland.
Don't worry, Grizzly Walker. Linebacker here for support.
Expending a Rift Dice for its Tesla arc on its light Tesla, shooting its twin autocannons as well. Unfortunately missing with its flamethrower, but managing to take out one of the Daughters, forcing a morale test, failing with the amount of pins they have. They flee off the board. Firefly Platoon Commander activating here and is running forward towards the central objective, as well as the American Platoon Commander, who is securing his place on the board. The lone Paragon standing on the plane with the heavy Tesla rifle after rolling 3 1s and re-rolling one of the shots due to the American rule. Manages to take out one of the 3 Soviet veterans on the central objective. And with that, that is the end of turn 4. We're moving on to the start of turn 5. Start of turn 5 here, harmonic resonance having some effect, some units getting pins, and the mortar squad is activating now, firing on the Paragons in the center, but to no effect. And attempting to activate here, but failing its order test, the Jackal unfortunately goes down, trying to target the Soviet veterans. So the Paragons instead have to activate here and getting an advance order, attempting to move on to the terrain.
We gotta hold this plane at all costs. Move it.
After passing their order test, are going to be taking aim at the 2 remaining Soviet infantry in the center, firing their SMG and heavy Tesla rifle at them. With a failed cover save, losing one of the Soviet troops, but passing the morale test, the lone troop is holding his ground. So the Soviet Artillery Observer is running forward here, getting onto the central objective. And the lone Soviet troop now is attempting to activate and shoot at the Paragon on the plane.
They're everywhere. I'm cornered.
But with the amount of pins he has, he unfortunately fails his order test and goes down. Paragon on the plane, having the perfect shot here, fires down on the Soviet infantry from above. And finally takes out the lone Soviet infantry.
That's for Miss Wells, you bastard.
Linebacker rallying here and just attempting to get rid of its pins so it can activate easily next turn. And the Firefly Platoon Commander now is advancing towards that little section of forest where the inexperienced Platoon Commander and the mortars are on the Soviet side.
What the hell's taking you men so long? I'll go over there and do it myself.
Passing its order test and advancing 12 inches with flight, it's going to be firing at the mortar squad. but the Soviet mortar squad holds, only losing one of the members of the mortar team. So now the Grizzly is activating. It's going to pivot and advance forward and fire at the mortar team as well.
Grizzly Walker here, advancing forward. Prepare for fire.
But unfortunately missing, and the Soviet inexperienced platoon commander whips out his pistol in point blank range and misses the Firefly platoon commander. An American commander underneath the tail of the airplane is just rallying to get rid of its pins. And that's the end of turn 5, and we're moving on to the last turn here, the start of turn 6. Starting off turn 6 here, harmonic resonance not really having too much effect. And the Paragons on the center are going to be running, and they're going to charge the lone artillery observer. And they easily manage to gun him down. Linebacker is activating now. It's going to pivot and attempt to take out the last stronghold of Soviet forces in the forest here. It's going to be firing everything it has at the platoon commander. Yeah, easily taking it out with the Tesla gun. Last but not least, the Firefly platoon commander here is charging the mortar squad. But the mortar squad actually wins the first round of combat, taking out the Firefly platoon commander, but his luck saves him. And in the second round of combat, he takes out the mortar squad. And with that, that is the end of the game here. The Soviet forces have been wiped off the board. The American forces losing quite a lot of good men out there, but have managed to secure the mysterious plane crash and are attempting to find out more about the valuable cargo inside. Hope you enjoyed this battle report of Konflikt 47. Shout out to Rev as always for coming and playing an awesome game, and shout out to my buddy Garrett. He made this plane piece when it was like years ago. We went over and made some terrain one day, and he found this on the side of the road, this like C-130 G.I. Joe toy, and made this, and it was in my basement for a long time, so I painted it, based it, and I think it worked really well for a nice centerpiece. And thank you so much to everyone who's new here to the channel and everyone that's been watching. I appreciate it. Thank you so much to our YouTube members and our Twitch subs. The support really means a lot, and I couldn't do it without you folks. Well, my name is Mike from Mike Rolls Dice. We have new Konflikt 47 battle reports coming out every week, as well as our first Turnip 28 battle report, which is going to be coming out soon. We plan on featuring all sorts of different games here on the channel in the near future. Well, thank you so much for watching. As always, be certain to tune into our live streams over the weekends. And as always, keep rolling high on those dice.